Well, we welcome you to University of Iowa softball and Big Ten softball. It's the Hawkeyes and the Minnesota Golden Gophers square off for the fourth time this weekend in this single game today on this Sunday. Moved up to a start time of 10 a.m. Due to the report of rain moving in at around the noon hour when the game originally was scheduled to start. Between noon and 1 o'clock is when the rain will move in there. So they wanted to get this game in for sure and get this Hawkeye softball team back to Iowa City in preparation for the Rutgers trip next weekend. Minnesota has won two of the three games this weekend. They won Friday on a two-hit performance by Amber Pfizer, who went the complete distance of 7 innings, give up 2 hits, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts in the shutout victory. Sarah Lehman did a nice job in the circle for the Iowa Hawkeyes as she held Minnesota down. They just had base runners in 3 of the at-bats heading into the bottom of the 6th inning when they scored 3 runs, and when they scored those runs, that's when head coach Renee Gillespie would bring in Lauren Shaw to finish off Minnesota and see if the Hawks can come back in the top of the 7th to score 3 runs to tie to force Minnesota to bat in the bottom of the 7th, and that did not happen. But Iowa did get a couple of hits in the game by Sammy Diaz to start off the top of the 3rd inning and by Marissa Peak to start off the top of the 4th inning, but that was as far as the Hawkeyes would get in that game. Minnesota was led by Chloe Evans, the freshman who clubbed a double and a home run with a couple of RBIs. She hit the 2-run home run in the bottom of the 6th inning to give Minnesota that 2-0 lead, and then they added an extra run to make it 3-0, and the ultimate win. On Saturday, game 1 yesterday of a doubleheader, the Hawks were able to top Minnesota 3-1. Lauren Shaw, 7 innings pitched, a complete game. She gave up 5 hits, a run it was earned, 2 walks and 4 strikeouts in that game. The Hawks were helped at the plate by Denali Lecker, and Lecker hit a Denali Lecker hit a run-scoring double. As she had 2 hits in the game, she had a run-scoring double in the 4th inning, and that tied the game after Minnesota had taken the lead 1-0 in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Denali Lecker then would score Bradley Klosterman on that double, tied the game all the way up to the top of the 7th inning when Iowa would score twice in the top of the 7th inning on a 1-out single by Grace Baines, who then would eventually score on the single by Sammy Diaz. And then Sammy Diaz was replaced by Arely Bogar, and she would score on the single by Denali Lecker, the second RBI for Lecker in the game. Iowa would be able to hang on to the 3-1 lead as Minnesota scoring only its 1 run in the bottom of the 3rd inning in that game, and Iowa even the series at a game apiece. Lauren again went 7 complete innings. Lauren will be in the circle today to begin game number 4. Autumn Pease, the number 2 pitcher for Minnesota, went 4 2/3 innings in the game, and she was relieved by Ava Dewick. Dewick picked up the loss as she gave up the 2 runs in the top of the 7th inning. Pease went 4 hits, a run it was earned. She walked 1 Hawkeye and struck out 3. Autumn will be in the circle for Minnesota today in Game 4, so it is a repeat of the Game 2 matchup between Lauren Shaw and Autumn Pease. In the second game of the doubleheader yesterday, Iowa started off with a 3-run lead in the top of the 1st inning as Bradley Klosterman would walk. Riley Sheehy then would single, and then that was followed by a Denali Lecker 3-run home run with nobody out. And then the Hawks would go down in order after that, but had a 3-0 lead. Iowa would be able to get runner on base in the 2nd and in the 4th. Minnesota came back and scored in the bottom of its 1st inning to make it 3-1. They would score 2 more in the bottom of the 3rd inning to tie the game. And then in the bottom of the 4th inning, Minnesota was able to get 2 more runs to take the 5-3 lead. And we get to the all-intense top of the 7th inning, and the Hawks would get things going. Get a single by Amber DeSena. She was replaced by Zoe Schulte in the circle on the bases to run. Schulte would eventually score on the base hit by Riley Sheehy. That made it 5-4. And that's where the Hawkeyes would end. They'd had a couple runners on in the top of the 7th inning, but they couldn't get any more to at least tie the game and force Minnesota to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. Alice Ducey started in the circle for the Hawks, went 2 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs. 2 of them were earned. She walked a batter and struck out 2. Sarah Lehman would come in and complete the game for the Hawks. And she would ultimately take the loss, and now 5-8. Sarah tossed 4 innings, gave 5 hits, 2 runs, and neither of them were earned. She walked a batter and struck out 1 as well. Amber Pfizer again in the circle for Minnesota yesterday, so she has 2 complete games on the weekend. She went 7 innings pitched, gave up 6 hits in this game yesterday. The Hawks were able to hit her a lot easier than they did on Friday. She gave up 4 runs. They were all earned. She walked 3, struck out 7. I'm talking about Amber Pfizer. So on the weekend, Amber Pfizer has pitched 14 innings, given up 8 hits, 4 runs, all 4 earned. She had the shutout on Friday. She has walked 6 batters and struck out 13. Not sure that we will see her today if Autumn Pease gets in any kind of trouble against this Iowa Hawkeye softball team, but we will find out here soon enough. We still await the start of this game from Minneapolis at Jane Sage Coles Stadium, a beautiful stadium on the campus of the University of Minnesota. So it will be Lauren Shaw in the circle for the Hawks here today. As we talked about, Lauren, she went the complete distance in the 3-1 win in Game 1 yesterday. She did also pitch in the first game of the series, going in and relieving Sarah Lehman, who had gone 5 1/3 innings, given up 5 hits, 3 runs. All 3 were earned. Lauren Shaw would come in the bottom of the 6th and get the final 2 outs of that. She did issue a hit and also a walk in that, but she just threw a few pitches to get herself ready for the start that she did in Game 1 on Saturday. But Minnesota did win that first game 3-0. So Lauren Shaw has pitched 7 2/3 innings this weekend, given up 6 total hits, a run. It was earned, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts for Lauren Shaw on the 5 strikeouts, on the weekend. She will be in the circle today for this first game, 4th game, the finale of the weekend for the Minnesota and the University of Iowa softball series. Key series, as we talked about going in Game 1, it's just as important now in Game 4. Been a little disruption in the Big Ten, although Michigan was able to defeat Northwestern twice. So Michigan now at 23-5 and 2 games up on Minnesota in the loss column, although they have 1 less win than Minnesota. And Michigan is 4 games up on Northwestern in the loss column and 1 game ahead in the win column. Michigan at 23-5, Minnesota 24-7, Northwestern 22-9, Illinois at 19-11 as they facing Indiana this weekend. And then it's the Iowa Hawkeyes, Nebraska Cornhuskers, and the Ohio State Buckeyes all battling for that number 5 spot in the Big Ten standings. That's why today's game is so important, because next week the Hawks will go to Rutgers. Rutgers is in 13th place in the league with a 6-24 record, and I think the Hawks are, after they win today's game against Minnesota, are going to go out there and look for a sweep of Rutgers, and that would be terrific, because following that is Nebraska. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are right with the Hawkeyes in 5th place, and then it's Illinois at home, and Illinois is a step ahead of the Hawkeyes in 4th place. So the next 3 weekends are key for the Hawks to end the season on a very high note in the Big Ten. Minnesota today again will counter with Autumn Pease, that is, as Autumn she pitched 7 innings, 4.2 thirds innings in the Game 1 yesterday of the doubleheader. So Riley Sheehy has singled for the Hawks and is on first base, and Denali Lecker at the plate facing Autumn Pease. Here's one that she'll foul back into the backstop. Bradley Klosterman grounded out to second base. And Denali Lecker is at the plate. Now, Lecker having quite a series. She's been really coming on strong in the last 3 weekends. She's 3 for 9 coming into today's game. Here is the 1-2 to her that she'll bounce right back to Autumn Pease. She will get Riley Sheehy forced at second base, but they will not get the double play. And so Denali Lecker will be on first base due to a fielder's choice. And that'll bring up Marissa Peak. Marissa Peak is catching again today. She caught yesterday's game 2 of the doubleheader. She was the designated player in game number 1. Peak on the series is 1 for 10. She has hit a double. That was one of the 2 back in game 1 on Friday. Here's one that bounces off the catcher's mitt, and moving down to second base is Denali Lecker. That was a pitch that was up and in on her. Marissa Peak I'm talking about, and it bounced off the top of the catcher's mitt, catcher's glove, and so Denali Lecker moves down to second base with 2 outs. It's Marissa Peak at the plate. Peak with a .239 batting average, 17 hits and 71 at bats, 5 doubles and a couple of home runs. If she can get the right pitch, she can drive it. Here is the 1-0 from Autumn Pease, and Peak takes a great cut at it and will not be able to connect with it. Breaking pitch away from her, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. In yesterday's game 2, she was 0 for 4. She did have a strikeout in the game. So her 1 hit came back in game number 1, that double that she hit in the top of that 4th inning against Amber Pfizer. Here's the 1-1 to Marissa Peak, and one that's inside, and again, right back to Autumn Pease in the circle, and that'll end the Hawks quickly in this top of the 1st inning. The Hawks do get a runner on. Riley Sheehy with a single. She forced out at second base by Denali Lecker's ground out, and so the Hawks with 4 batters here in the top of the 1st inning. We head into the bottom of the 1st, and we're scoreless between Iowa and Minnesota. University of Iowa baseball playing at Duane Banks Field today. The Hawks did end up losing to Maryland last night, yesterday, 8-6. Maryland then went on to defeat Northwestern 2-1 in yesterday afternoon's matinee game. So today, it'll be Maryland and Northwestern at noon, which is scheduled to start here in a couple of hours. That'll be followed by Iowa and Northwestern at approximately 4 o'clock today. And then tomorrow the Hawkeyes will complete the series with the Northwestern Wildcats at 3 o'clock at Duane Banks Field. So it's Northwestern, Maryland at noon today, Iowa and Northwestern at 4 today, and Iowa Northwestern tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Into the batter's box is Ellie Jensen for the for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. She 2 for 10 on the series, has scored a run, had a base hit yesterday in that game number 3, and that was back in the 4th inning, but she was stranded at second base. So she facing Lauren Shaw. Shaw, the left-hander from LaGrange, Ohio. Here is the 1-0 to her. That is now 2 balls and no strikes. Lauren Shaw, again, has pitched this weekend. She went complete distance in the game 1 yesterday with a 7-inning performance in which Iowa won 3-1, and then she pitched 2/3 of an inning in the game on Friday. Here's a pitch that's inside. 2 balls and 1 strike on Ellie Jensen. Jensen coming in with a 294, coming into the series with a 294 batting average. At 279 currently. Here is a pitch that she'll slap down the third base line, and it is fair. Gets to the outfield. Riley Sheehy quickly picks it up and does not allow Ellie Jensen to scoot around first base to second. Nice effort by Riley Sheehy out in left field. That ball was just inside the fair territory down the third base line by the left-handed hitting Ellie Jensen. Riley Sheehy had to quickly get to it in foul territory to Baines, and they had it covered nicely where Ellie Jensen could not continue on. So she does get a base hit to begin the Minnesota bottom of the first inning. That'll bring up McKenna Partain. Partain's had quite a weekend, 4 of 9 in the series coming into today's game. She has a couple of doubles, and she's been hit by a pitch as well. Iowa did a nice job on her on Friday, keeping her to 0 for 3. She was 2 for 2 in yesterday's first game. And in the second game yesterday, she was 2 for 4. So here's the 1-0 pitch to her from Lauren Shaw. So Lauren kept her under control in game number 1. That was game number 2, which was the first game of yesterday's doubleheader. And here is the 2-0. Well, actually, let me change that. McKenna Partain was 2 for 2 against Lauren Shaw in game number 1 yesterday. But the Hawks just didn't let her advance any and score any runs. Here's the 2-1, a pitch that she lifts out into the outfield, driving Bradley Klosterman back to the center field wall. And McKenna Partain has just drilled a 2-run home run for the Minnesota Golden Gophers in the bottom of the first inning. She got a pitch that was out and over the plate, and she drives in Ellie Jensen with that home run. And for McKenna Partain, that is home run number 4 on the season. It's the second home run of the weekend for Minnesota. And it gives Minnesota a 2-0 lead. Yes, that ball was out over the plate. She just reaches out and smacks it with the fat part of the bat and lifts it over the center field wall for her 4th home run. And it is the second home run of the weekend for the Minnesota Gophers. They lead the Big Ten in home runs. And Natalie Den Hartog will follow that with a fly out to Bradley Klosterman. Den Hartog coming into the game, a 304 hitter, 293. So she's raised her average through the weekend, 4 of 10 with a couple of doubles. She has 2 runs batted in. That'll bring up Caitlin Kemet-Mueller, the senior third baseman, batting number 4 in the lineup. Kemet-Mueller 1 of 9 in the series. Here's a pitch that's off the plate by Lauren Shaw. Now today the Hawkeyes in their black jersey with the black number, and it's highlighted with the yellow outline and the white baseball pant. Black stirrup and the white stripe. So yesterday they were in the white jersey top and the black pant. Today they're just opposite that. 2 balls and no strikes on Caitlin Kemet-Mueller. She was 0 for 3 yesterday, 0 for 3 in game 1 of yesterday's doubleheader. Nice pitch by Lauren Jensen, an off-speed pitch that crosses the outside part of the plate. And Kemet-Mueller's base hit came in game number 1. And she also scored. She scored in the 2-run home run hit by Chloe Evans. So now it's 3 balls and 1 strike. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Kemet-Mueller. Looks like a decent day in Minneapolis, at least for now. Rain expected to move in a couple of hours, so they moved this up to 10 o'clock. Wanted to get things taken care of. 41 degrees currently with a wind out of the southeast at 8, wind chill of 36. And again, like yesterday, Lauren Shaw with short sleeves apparently pitches better. She gets warmed up with just the natural look. Everybody else with an extra layer on. Kemet-Mueller takes a strong cut at that pitch, the 3-2 pitch, and she fouls it back into the backstop. Hawkeyes sent 4 batters to the plate in their top of the first inning. Kalena Burns will lead it off when Iowa when Iowa heads to the plate in their next at-bat. Here's one that Kemet Mueller will lift up into the infield, and it's Amber DeSena making the catch for the second out of the inning with Lauren Shaw in the circle, Marissa Peak behind the plate. Sammy Diaz back in the lineup today playing third base. Grace Baines at short. Amber DeSena at second base. Denali Lecker at first. Riley Sheehy in left. Bradley Klosterman in center. Nia Carter is in right field. Now facing Chloe Evans, the freshman who had a double and a home run in game number 1. And those are the only 2 hits she's had in the series. 2 for 8 coming into today's game. The left-handed hitting Chloe Evans, freshman left fielder. Facing the lefty, Lauren Shaw. Here's a pitch that Chloe will lift up to Bradley Klosterman in center field, and that will end Minnesota's bottom of the first inning. But they get 2 runs on a 2-run home run hit by McKenna Partain and take a 2-0 lead into the top of the second inning. Kalena Burns, Grace Baines, and Nia Carter will come to the plate for the Hawks when play resumes. In other University of Iowa sports news, the University of Iowa field hockey team has been selected as an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. They will play next Sunday at Chapel Hill in North Carolina at 2 o'clock. They will face the winner of Northwestern and Delaware. They play midweek this week. So the University of Iowa field hockey team entering the NCAA tournament for the 25th time should congratulate Anta Nijzel from the Netherlands. She was the Big Ten's Player of the Year. Lisa Chalucci was the co-coach of the year with Meredith Civico of Rutgers. Ellie Holly made the first team along with Anta Nijzel, and Maddie Murphy was on the second team for the Big Ten Field Hockey Awards. Congratulations to Iowa field hockey playing next Sunday at North Carolina against either Northwestern or Delaware. They play this week. So Kalena Burns will step to the plate for the Hawks here in the top of the second inning. Burns is 0 for 2. She was a designated player in Game 2 yesterday. She pinch hit and walked in she pinch hit and earned a walk back in game number 1. Here is an off-speed pitch from Otta Pease that is called strike 1. Burns comes in to the game with a .215 batting average, 14 hits and 65 at-bats, 4 doubles and a couple of home runs. Kind of been in a little bit of a hitting slump here recently. Here is the 1-1 tour that is down and away, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike to the sophomore from Corona, California. Iowa, Minnesota, this is the 4th game. Minnesota with a 2-1 lead on the Hawks. Hawks really need to fight hard here and get this win over Autumn Pease and Minnesota to square the series and head back to Iowa City and prepare for the trip to Piscataway, New Jersey next weekend to face Rutgers University. Here is a pitch that's down and in on Kalena Burns. The last game that Burns got a hit in was at Wisconsin, which was before the Northwestern series a week ago. Here's one that she rips out into left field, and as I talk, maybe I'm the good omen today, Kalena rips one into left field for a base hit. That's single number 2 for the Hawks here in this 4th game, and she's on first base. She'll be followed by Grace Baines, who comes up to the plate for Iowa. Baines coming into today's game, 170 hitter, 16 hits in 94 at-bats. And apparently we're going to get a pinch runner for Kalena Burns. So Grace Baines now with an 0-1 count on her, the freshman out of Kansas City, Kansas. And the 0-1 pitch to her now becomes strike two. She squared to bunt. Zoe Schulte is on first base for Marissa Peak. Zoe pinch ran yesterday. Head coach Renee Gillespie not wasting any time, knowing that you're going to get few opportunities. And so you got to take advantage of them while you can. Here's the 0-2 to Grace Baines, a pitch that's outside, and she will not chase it. Baines in yesterday's game was 1 for 2 with a walk. She has walked twice this weekend. 2 for 6 on the weekend coming in. Had a hit in the first game yesterday of the doubleheader, in the game in which Iowa won 3-1. Here is the 0-2. She knew it. That ball crossed the plate, an off-speed pitch, catches her, freezes her at the plate, and that's the first out of the inning. That's the first strikeout for Autumn Pease of Minnesota. That'll bring up Nia Carter. It's an off-speed pitch that just freezes her right at the plate, and Grace knew it as soon as she held up from the swing. That ball crossed the plate. So Nia Carter comes in. She's 0 for 8 in the series, batting in the number 7 spot with 1 out, and Zoe Schulte at first, running for Kalena Burns, who singled to lead off the top of the second inning. Minnesota leads this game 2-0. We're in the top of the second. 2-run home run hit by McKenna Partain pushed Minnesota up to the 2-0 lead. Here is the 1-0 to Nia Carter. She'll lift one out into left field, but right at the left fielder Chloe Evans, who is playing it perfectly. And that's 2 gone in Iowa's top of the second. Amber DeSena now will step to the batter's box. Right-handed hitting DeSena. She is at 2 for 8 in the series. She clubbed a double in game 1. Actually, she hit the double in the win, the 3-1 win yesterday. Part of her 2 hits. She did hit a single in the second game yesterday. She was 1 for 3 in the second game yesterday, and she was 1 for 3 in the first game. So her 2 hits have come both in yesterday's doubleheader. She's up in the count here at 1 ball to no strikes on Autumn Pease. There's a pitch that's down and in on her. Zoe Schulte at first base running for Kalena Burns, and it was off of Autumn Pease that DeSena hit the double. And that was in the top of the 5th inning yesterday. Here is the pitch that she'll hit right to the shortstop, and it rolls right up her arm, and running around second base and getting to third, not even hesitating. That ball would climb the arm of Carly Brandt. A hard hit shot from Amber DeSena. Give the base hit to DeSena. And on that base hit, as the ball climbed the arm of Carly Brandt at shortstop, Zoe Schulte hesitates not at all, and she races around second base and gets all the way to third. I think that ball just took a bad hop on Carly Brandt. We'll see what the official score is on that. So puts runners at first and third with 2 outs. Here again is another opportunity for the Hawks to do things with 2 outs. Renee Gillespie talking to that offensive system that's on the field and at the plate. That'll be Sammy Diaz at the plate, the number 9 hitter. Zoe Schulte at third. And Amber DeSena, they're going to call it an error on the third baseman. On the shortstop, on Carly Brandt. That ball climbed right up. She was trying to backhand it, and I think it took a bad hop on her and rolled right up her left arm. So with runners at first and third, first error committed by Minnesota here today. Hawks get into Autumn Pease. They'll see if Sammy Diaz can keep it going. Sammy on the weekend is 2 for 6. 1 for 2 yesterday in the first game of the doubleheader. Here's a pitch that's called strike 1. right down the middle. Diaz's single came after the Amber DeSena double. And that's when Minnesota would bring in Ava Dewick. Here is the 0-1, and she check swings one down the third base line. Kemet Mueller charging down the line, picking and throwing. Nice play by Kemet Mueller, as she was playing back, and she had to charge hard to get that slow rolling ground ball that was hit by Sammy Diaz. So that halts the Hawkeyes with runners at first and third, ends them in the top of the second. We go into the bottom of the second. Sarah Kinch, the freshman and number 6 hitter in the lineup for the Minnesota Gophers, will be at the plate. 2-0 Minnesota leading Iowa. Football fans, next Saturday is an open spring football practice you can attend at Kinnick Stadium. Kinnick Stadium opens at 8:30. Practice starts at 9:30. You need to wear a mask to get into the stadium and wear the mask while you're at the stadium watching the practice. Sarah Kinch at the plate looks at a pitch that's called strike one from Lauren Shaw. The Hawks preparing for the 2021 football season, which is September 4th. They'll host Indiana. That's First Responders Day. Here is the 0-1 to Sarah Kinch. It's called strike two. So Lauren painting the corners on the outside and the inside, getting the calls from the home plate umpire. And don't forget about Friday on September 3rd at the Iowa River Landing in Coralville. That's September 3rd, Friday, leading into the opening college football game of the season for the 2021 Iowa Hawkeyes. Tickets are available. Order them online. Go to HawkeyeSports.com, go to football, and go to tickets. Purchase tickets. Here's one that is lifted out to right field just short of Nia Carter. And so that is the third base hit for Minnesota on Lauren Shaw today. This one from Sarah Kinch. Kinch coming into the game 3 for 8. She was 2 for 3 in the second game of the double yesterday. This was just lightly hit over the top of Amber DeSena and in front of Nia Carter. Couldn't have placed it any more perfectly. So she on base, and it brings up Emily Hansen. Hansen 2 for 7 in the series with a double and an RBI. She was 1 for 3 in the second game with a doubleheader yesterday. Here's a pitch that she takes a strong cut at and misses. Hansen 0 for 3 in the first game yesterday, and she did a pinch hitting role in game 1 on Friday. Did get a hit and an RBI. That was the double that scored Denson from first base after the 2-run home run hit by Chloe Evans. Down on the count now at no balls and a strike. It's now 1 ball and 1 strike. Here is the 1-1 to Hansen as she takes a swing at and misses. Hansen coming into today's game. Here is one that she'll dribble right to Baines at short, and they get the force at second. They can't get the double play at first, but they do get the lead runner in Sarah Kinch. And so that puts Emily Hansen on first base with a fielder's choice. Hansen at a .250 batting average. Is the 3-hopper Baines to Amber DeSena, who had trouble getting it out of her glove. Not quite sure they would have been able to get Emily Hansen at first anyway. So Megan Dre comes to the plate. Dre hitting .200 on the weekend. She's 1 for 7. That hit came in the second game of the double yesterday. Minnesota built. Iowa got up to a 3-0 lead. Minnesota would come back and capture it at 5-3. And Iowa would close them down for the next couple of at-bats. Iowa would score one in the top of the 7th to make it 5-4, but could not, with runners on base, get any more across to tie the game to make Minnesota come to the plate in the bottom of the 7th inning, thus losing that game 5-4. Here's the 1-1. That's called ball 2 to Megan Dre. She is the graduate transfer from North Carolina. And she looks at a pitch that's called strike 2. So 2 balls and 2 strikes on the senior grad transfer, Megan Dre, playing first base. It seems like she just filled a hole in the positions they needed badly. And here's one that she hits out to right field, but it's foul. So it'll be 2 balls and 2 strikes continued. Dre, again, hitting 200 coming into today's game. She was 209 coming into the series, 9 of 43, and again, she's 1 for 7, so she's 10 of 50 coming into today's game. Again, a little bit cool in Minneapolis. Here's one that she lifts right through the center, gets out to Brody Klosterman, and she can't handle it, bounces past her, took a big hop on her. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to score. They do. They get the score as Sarah Kinch and Dre, she gets the base hit, and that ball gets away from. The ball is hit right up the middle, and it gets away from Bradley Klosterman. So Sarah Kinch scores from first base. Hansen scores, it's Hansen who scored and not Kinch. Kinch was forced at second. So Hansen going to second, goes on to third as the ball rolled away from Bradley Klosterman in the outfield. Megan Dre will be at second base. And Minnesota now ahead 3-0. Dre made it all the way to third. And there are no outs, and it's Carly Brandt at the bottom of the order for Minnesota. Carly Brandt 1 for 6 on the weekend, 1 for 2 in yesterday's second game. She did score a run. On the weekend, she's got 3 walks, and she's also struck out 3 times in the number 9 spot for Piper Ritter. Here's the pitch that's dribbled right back to Lauren Shaw. Looks to run her back to third, and Shaw on over to first for the first out of the bottom of the 3rd inning. But Minnesota already leading this game at 3-0. Starting to pull away just a little bit. Hawks got to get those bats going when they get back to the plate. Ellie Jensen will step into the batter's box. She singled in her first at-bat and was chased home on a home run hit by McKenna Partain. Here's the first pitch to Jensen, a pitch that's down and in. And the appeal down to the third base umpire. I believe he said no. It was a check swing, but she didn't go far enough to make it a strike. So it's 1 ball and no strikes. Here's the off-speed pitch that's now down and in. So it's 2 balls and no strikes on Ellie Jensen. 3 for 11 in this series after singling in her first at-bat this morning. Got Megan Dre at third base after simply singling. And that is a strike on the outside corner. Okay, they've got a pinch hitter in now for Ellie Jensen. It's Allie Lindner. A swing and a miss, strike 3, and now they're going to throw down to first base to end it. So that was Allie Lindner batting for Ellie Jensen. And she strikes out. And fortunately for the Hawks, they get out of the inning without too much damage done by Minnesota. A fielding error that allowed a run to score. And it's 3-0 Minnesota heading into the top of the third inning. It'll be the top of the order. Brody Klosterman, when play continues, it's Minnesota 3, Iowa nothing. So we head into the top of the third inning. Iowa with a fielding error that allowed that third run to score. It was a simple single that was hit out to Brody Klosterman, and as she went to field it, it crawled right up her arm and rolled back to the wall. She had to chase it, and that allowed Emily Hansen to score. She was on first base. She was able to score the run, and Megan Dre would get all the way to third base. Iowa's got a little mountain to climb here to get back into this one. Here in the top of the third, Klosterman on the first pitch will lift it out to left field, and that'll push Chloe Evans to her right, and that is the first out of the top of the third inning. Riley Sheehy now comes to the plate. Sheehy singled in her first at-bat, was forced at second on the fielder's choice by Denali Lecker, so see if she can't duplicate that hit that she had in her first at-bat and get Denali Lecker a chance to get to the plate. Here comes the first pitch from Autumn Pease. It's one that's up and away from Riley Sheehy. Sheehy coming into the game today with a .264 average. 23 hits and 87 at-bats, now 24 and 88. A double and a triple to her credit. Here is the 1-0. She hits out into right field, gets a hold of that one, but hits it right to the right fielder, Ellie Jensen. And so that's out number 2 for the Hawkeyes. Good connection by Riley Sheehy. She got around on it, but just didn't get enough of it to hit it over top of Lindner, who's out there playing right field for Ellie Jensen. And so Sheehy down. That's 2 gone, and Iowa's top of the third, and brings up Denali Lecker. Lecker reached on a fielder's choice in her first at-bat. Looks at a pitch that's inside. So 1 ball and no strikes. 3-0, the lead for Minnesota. They got 2 on a 2-run home run by McKenna Partain in the first inning, chasing Ellie Jensen home, and then they scored again in their last at-bat as Emily Hansen scored from first base on a single by Megan Dre. Here is the 1-0, now becomes 2 balls and no strikes to Denali Lecker. Lecker leading this Iowa team in hitting, coming in .345 average. She was at .346. On the weekend, she's 3 out of 9. She's got a home run and a double to her credit, and she's also been hit by a pitch. Here is the 1-1 that's hit out to right field, and it drops in there for a hit. Perfectly placed just on the inside part of the right field line. Lindner not able to get to it, and so Denali Lecker on base for the second time, this time on a base hit. She got enough of this one to put it over top of the second baseman who couldn't get to it, Partain, and Lindner was well back in right field. That puts Denali Lecker at first base, and it brings up Marissa Peak, freshman out of Wentzville, Missouri. Peak bounced one back to Pease in her first at-bat. Peak, a .239 hitter coming into the game, 17 hits and 71 at-bats. 5 doubles and a couple of home runs. Has a teammate in Denali Lecker on first base with 2 outs. See if she can't get a pitch here to drive from Autumn Pease. There's a pitch that she lifts foul back behind the press box. So it's a 1-1 count on Marissa Peak. Peak 1 for 10 coming into the series, into this 4th game of the series. She does have a double. And that double was part of the two that were hit on Monday against Amber Pfizer. Here is a pitch that she lifts again foul. Gets a good cut at it, but I'll hit it towards the backstop, over top of it, and to the left of the press box. Here at Jane Sage Coles Stadium, softball stadium. Excellent facility that Minnesota has upgraded. Here is the 1-2 to Marissa Peak. And it's a pitch that's right down the middle, a breaking pitch that falls off the table. And Marissa Peak becomes the second strikeout victim of the day for Autumn Pease. The Hawks down in order, 1-2-3, trail 3-0 heading into the bottom of the third inning. And for Minnesota, McKenna Partain will be the first batter that Lauren Shaw will face. One play continues. University of Iowa men's golf team are in sixth place at the Robert Kepler Intercollegiate in Columbus, Ohio. It's a two-day tournament yesterday and today. That sixth place is at 12 over par, 580. Illinois leads at 1 under par, 567. Alex Shockey is in a tie for third place. He's at 2 under par, 140. Shot identical 70s on the first day. Women's Big Tens in Cincinnati. After the first day, Iowa was in a tie for seventh place at 9 over par, 297. Michigan State was in first at 2 under, 286. Clara Wildheiber in seventh place with an even par, 72 for the Hawks. That was the Big Ten women's golf tournament. Started Friday, went through yesterday, and will finish today outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's McKenna Partain at the plate. She drilled a 2-run home run in her first at-bat. Partain now 5 of 10 in the series. She has 2 doubles to go along with that home run. She also has been hit by a pitch. Partain, the senior second baseman, and it's 2 balls and no strikes on her. Going to have to be careful with her, obviously, the way she can hit the ball. She is the career leader in runs scored at the University of Minnesota, and she's second in doubles hit in a career. Here is the off-speed pitch that's called strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. Had played in 201 games after last season's pandemic-shortened year, and now is up to 32 games this year, so 233 games she's played in her Minnesota career. Here's one that she lifts out into right field. This is the Nia Carter. This one also a home run. She ricochets it off of the scoreboard in right field. And McKenna Partain now with back-to-back home runs for Minnesota. Got another pitch that was out over the plate. She just reaches out and slugs it. So she with 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and 2 home runs. She with 5 home runs on the season, and that's home run number 35 for the Minnesota Golden Gophers on the season. They lead the Big Ten by a wide margin. They are a hitting machine. They now lead this game 4-0. A solo home run by McKenna Partain. So Natalie Den Hartog will step to the plate. Den Hartog, the junior center fielder, she flew out to Bradley Klosterman in her first at-bat. Head coach Renee Gillespie now talking to Hawkeye defense out in the circle. Lauren Shaw, Denali Lecker, Marissa Peak, trying to get things squared away here as much as it is in the field. Now, Iowa's been playing really pretty good defense all weekend long. And they've begun some pretty decent pitching. Just those pitches now are up over the plate for Lauren Shaw. That is her 8th and 9th home run that she has given up this year. Again, both of them to McKenna Partain, and head coach Renee Gillespie going to elect to bring in Sarah Lehman to relieve Lauren Shaw here in the bottom of the third inning. Nobody out and nobody on. So Sarah Lehman will inherit the inning from here on out. Hawks need to battle back at the plate to get back into this game. Trailing 4-0. A 2-run home run by McKenna Partain. And then on a fielding error by Brody Klosterman on the single by Megan Dre, scored Emily Hansen in the bottom of the second inning. And now McKenna Partain, another home run, a solo home run, as Minnesota has scored in each of their first 3 at-bats. They have nobody out here in the bottom of the third inning. And Sarah Lehman now will come into the circle. She is making her 16th appearance. Sarah last threw in Game 2 yesterday of the doubleheader. She replaced Allison Ducey, who went 2 innings. Sarah threw 4 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs. Neither were earned, a walk and 1 strikeout. And Sarah pitched in Game 1 on Friday, going 5 1/3 innings, giving up 5 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 4 walks and a strikeout there too. So Sarah, 9 1/3 innings pitched this weekend, getting a shot here. Now looking at Natalie Den Hartog. Den Hartog, 4 of 10 coming into today's game. Has scored a couple of runs. She's got 2 RBIs. She was 2 for 3 in the second game yesterday. Here is the 1-0 that she'll dribble just in front of home plate. And Marissa Peak does a nice job to pick it up. That was still sitting in the left-handed batter's box. She fouled it, dribbled it, set it right there. It wasn't foul. It was hit, and it set right there in the left-hand corner of that left-handed batter's box, and a fair ball was called. And so Marissa Peak, an excellent job of getting out of that catcher stance to pick it and make a nice toss down to Denali Lecker for the first out of the inning. And bring up Caitlin Kemet-Mueller, the senior third baseman. Kemet-Mueller flew out to Amber DeSena in her first at-bat. Kemet-Mueller coming into the game, 1 of 9 in the series, 0 for 3 yesterday, 0 for 3 in Game 1 yesterday, so she was 0 for 6 for yesterday alone. Here is the 1-0 that she'll lift up into the infield. It'll drift foul. And she had a base hit and a run scored in Game 1 on Friday. She led off the bottom of the 5th inning, and she was chased home by the home run by Chloe Evans to lift Minnesota to the 2-0 lead. They would add a run and win that game 3-0. Lehman with the 0-2 pitch that's fouled back off of the backstop. So Sarah Lehman ahead in the count against Caitlin Kemet-Mueller. Kemet-Mueller also with many games played for Minnesota, 138 after last year. She has started and played every game this year at third base. And here's one, again, she'll hit foul. In the Illinois series, which goes back to the end of March, in which Minnesota would win 3 of those 4 games, she had 4 hits in that series. 2 of those hits were home runs, and she had 3 runs batted in. So she also capable of powering the long ball. Down in the count now, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch to her that, again, she'll lift foul. Sarah Lehman trying to keep that ball down and away from her, but Kemet-Mueller with a strong swing, able to connect with it, but hitting it foul. Sarah Lehman has pitched the most innings for any senior pitcher for the Hawks. 87 2/3 innings coming into this appearance. Here is the 1-2 that, again, is lifted foul into the backstop. Lauren Shaw had 65 innings pitched coming into the game today, and she made it through 2 innings, giving up 3 runs. 2 of them were earned. And Alice Ducey was 67 2/3 innings. Here's another foul ball hit by Kemet-Mueller into the backstop. They took a very strong cut at it. Thus, the 4-0 lead for Minnesota. McKenna Partain, a 2-run home run and a solo home run to lead Minnesota in this effort. Here's a pitch that's hit right back to Sarah Lehman, an off-speed pitch. Kemet-Mueller will get out and get the fat part of the bat on it, but just hits it into the ground, and it bounces right back to Sarah Lehman. And she tosses it over to Denali Lecker. So 2 gone in Minnesota's bottom of the 3rd, and Chloe Evans will come to the plate. Evans flew out to Riley Klosterman in her first at-bat today. 2 of 8 in the series. Those 2 hits came in game number 1. She doubled, and she hit a 2-run home run. Here's a pitch off the corner of the plate. It's strike 1. Again, we're early morning this morning with the threat of rain moving in at around the noonday, a little bit after noon today. They wanted to get this 4th game in. Here is the 0-1. That's up and in, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. On Chloe Evans, the number 5 hitter in the lineup, freshman left fielder. Freshman out of Seymour, Wisconsin. Here is the 1-1, a pitch that she takes a good cut at and will foul it back behind the press box. When the Hawks return to the plate, they're going to be trailing. They need to start pecking away at this deficit. Marissa Peak will be the first batter for the Hawkeyes when they get there in the top of the 4th inning. Right now there's 2 outs in Minnesota's bottom of the 3rd. Here is a pitch that's upstairs, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. After the McKenna Partain solo home run, a ground out by Natalie Den Hartog, one that Marissa Peak was able to pick up right in the right-hand or left-handed batter's box and fired to Denali Lecker, and then just Caitlin Kemet-Mueller with a bounce back to Sarah Lehman in the circle. Here is the 2-2 that's ripped foul down the first baseline. Kemet-Mueller, a 4-year player. Last year, she was a .203 batting average in the pandemic-shortened season. She started and played in all 25 games, had 15 hits, 74 at-bats, 3 doubles, and 3 home runs. That was last year. Here's one that she drives back to Brodie Klosterman, and right dead center field, Chloe Evans adds to the McKenna Partain solo home run derby with a solo home run of her own here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Got a pitch out again up over the plate, and she hit it to dead center field, driving Brodie Klosterman back to the wall. Nothing that Brodie could do but watch it go over the center field wall, and now that's the 2nd home run of the inning. It's the 3rd in the game. It was an off-speed pitch that Evans does a great job to wait on, and she hit it perfectly out into center field and over the wall, and now Minnesota leads this game 5-0 in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Bring up Sarah Kinch, who singled in her last at-bat. Facing Sarah Lehman, here's a pitch that she'll take a cutout and miss. Kinch, a .237 hitter coming into today's game, .222 coming into the series, 3 for 8 in the series coming into today's game. And she singled in her last at-bat. Takes a good hard cut there. She's 0 for 2. Now Kinch is a freshman catcher. She's been catching all year. She's from Temecula, California. Here is the 0-2 pitch that's down and away. She, the reigning freshman of the week, Big Ten freshman of the week in the Nebraska series. She had 2 home runs, 2 doubles. She was 6 for 10. 6 runs batted in and 4 walks in the game. Here's one that she'll lift down the first base foul line, and making the catch is Denali Lecker. And that will end Minnesota in the bottom of the 3rd inning, but they get 2 runs, both of them by solo home run. McKenna Partain with her 2nd home run of the day, and Chloe Evans just clouded one to make it 5-0 Minnesota. We head into the top of the 4th inning. It's Marissa Peak, Kalena Burns, and Grace Baines when play resumes. 5-0 Minnesota leading Iowa. So Marissa Peak will get it started for the Hawks here in the top of the fourth inning. It sounds like a at-bat for the Hawks scoring some runs. Marissa bounced back to Autumn Pease in her last at-bat. Marissa on the weekend 1 for 12. She does have a double to her credit. She did hit that in Friday's 3-0 loss. One of two doubles that were hit by the Hawks against Amber Pfizer. And Marissa Peak looks at strike one. Actually, we have Kalena Burns. I'm sorry, Kalena Burns is at the plate. She singled in her last at-bat, was stranded at third base. Here is the 1-0 that's hit off the end of the bat and hits off the foot of the pitcher Pease, and Kalena Burns is going to make it to first base. Would assume it'll be a base hit. That ball hit off the foot. And bring up Grace Baines. Hawks need some runs. They need some base runners. Got to get those bats going. Working against Autumn Pease, and it's Grace Baines at the plate. Trailing 5-0. She takes a cut at the first pitch, and it's strike one. Baines on the weekend is 1 for 2. She is 2 for 6. She was 1 for 2 yesterday with a walk. Here is the 0-1 that she hits, lifts it out into left center field, driving back, and it is gone. Grace Baines drills a 2-run home run for the Iowa Hawkeyes to give back a little bit of medicine to the University of Minnesota with their 3 home runs, and Grace Baines drills a 2-run home run for Iowa's first 2 runs of the game. They couldn't have come at a better time, and for Baines, it is her first home run as an Iowa Hawkeye, and hopefully it gives them a lift in that dugout. The ball was up and in on her. She got around on it, got the fat part of the bat on it, and Den Hartog and Evans could do nothing about it but watch it sail over the left center field wall. Kalena Burns will score in front of Grace Baines. And now the Hawks are in business. Nia Carter at the plate. Nia Carter 0 for the weekend. She had a couple of hits in the last game of the Northwestern game last weekend, and that's the last that she has had any base hits. Batting in the number 7 spot today. Iowa trails now 5-2 after the Grace Baines 2-run home run. And for Autumn Pease, that is the 7th home run that she has given up this season. And a 5-2 Minnesota lead now. New life for the Hawks. Nia Carter at the plate, nobody out. Here's a pitch that's down and away, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Nia earlier this season had a 6-game hitting streak going. Started in the 3rd game of the Maryland series and went through the 1st game of the Indiana series. We're talking about 6 games. All were single hit games except for one. That was a 2-hit game. Here's one that she'll bounce right past the shortstop to her left. So Nia Carter with a base hit. Hawks starting to put together some hits, consecutive hits. Nia Carter with her first hit of the weekend. Did a nice job to hit it past Autumn Pease to her right. Carly Brandt couldn't get to it to her left. So that'll put Nia Carter on at first base. Carter 5 for 6 in the stolen base department. Not sure that. And here's the first pitch to Amber DeSena. DeSena, 2 for 8 coming into today's game. And she got on base due to an error on Carly Brandt in her last at-bat. See if she can't drive one. She did it already this weekend. She does have a double to her credit. Here's one that she'll hit right at third baseman Kemet Mueller to second. And the relay and the double play by the Minnesota Gophers They force Carter at second. They get Amber DeSena running down to first for the double play. And that is 2 outs for Minnesota here in their top of the 4th inning. And for Minnesota, that is double play number 9 on the season. Don't get many of them. Bases don't have a lot of distance between them. But you got to have a hard hit like they just had there. The Kemet Mueller was playing perfectly. She got it on a quick hop to second base to Partain, who on to first base at Megan Dre, and that completed the double play. 2 gone, and it's Sammy Diaz at the plate for the Hawks. Here she takes a good solid cut at one. Sammy grounded out to third base in her last at bat. 0 for 1 yesterday, 2 for 6 in the series. She has a double to her credit that she hit to start an inning back in game number 1, stranded at second base as the Hawks couldn't move anybody forward. That against Amber Pfizer on Friday in a game the Hawks lost 3-0. So here is the 1-1 pitch to Sammy Diaz, a pitch that's down, right down the middle, but it was low. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike on Sammy Diaz. Diaz, again, 0 for 1 yesterday. Ashley Hamilton came in to relieve her at third base. Diaz had apparently taken one off the wrist or something, and so Ashley Hamilton came in to play for her after the 3rd inning. Here is a pitch that's right down the middle. It's strike 2. Sammy looked like she wanted to go for it, but held up, and it's called strike 2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Diaz 1 for 2 in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, and 1 for 2 in the game on Friday. Here is... So Sammy, on a 3-game hitting streak that was broken yesterday after not getting a hit. At the plate now with a 2-ball and 2 strike. Actually, it's a full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes on the freshman out of Cypress, California. Making her way across the country to play softball for Renee Gillespie in this Iowa Hawkeye program. Here is the 3-2 that Sammy will foul back behind the press box over towards the outdoor track, part of the facilities upgrade here at the University of Minnesota. 5-2 the lead for Minnesota. We're in the top of the 4th. They had a 5-0 lead until moments ago when Grace Baines hit a 2-run home run, the first of her Hawkeye career. Amber DeSena then would ground out, and now we're at Sammy Diaz. 2 outs, top of the 4th. Here's the 3-2 again from Pease, a pitch that's called strike 3, an off-speed pitch that catches those batters. They look at it and freezes them at the plate, and it crosses timely. That's a beautiful pitch by Autumn Pease. But the Hawks get 2. They close the gap to 5-2. See if they can't shut Minnesota down here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Emily Hansen, the number 7 hitter, will be at the plate when play continues. 5-2 Minnesota. So we head into the bottom of the 4th inning. Minnesota leads this game 5-2. They jump to a 5-0 lead. They've hit 3 home runs in the game. A 2-run home run by McKenna Partain, a solo home run by Partain, and a solo home run by Chloe Evans. Iowa now has returned the favor with a 2-run home run by Grace Baines. And so the fly out to left field by Emily Hansen gives Minnesota one out, and it's Megan Dre, the senior grad transfer first baseman, who singled in her last at-bat. And that single drove in Emily Hansen from first base on the fielding error by Brody Klosterman out in center field. Dre would end at third base. Fortunately, that's where it all ended for Minnesota in that inning, but they did get a run in that inning. That was the bottom of the second. That squeezed between two two-run innings. Sarah Lehman in the circle for the Hawks. She came in the bottom of the third inning after McKenna Partain's second solo home run. Gave up a solo home run to Chloe Evans, and now she's behind the count, 2 balls and 1 strike against Megan Dre. Dre on the weekend 1 for 7 coming into the game, so she 2 out of 8. Dre's batting average, 209 coming into the series. 200 into today's game after 3 games played this weekend. 3 balls and 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on. This is the number 8 hitter. This would be a good time for the Hawks to shut down Minnesota. They don't want to get back to the top of the order, at least in this at-bat. Take care of the bottom of the order here. Here's one that's lifted out to right field. Nia Carter just in foul territory down the right field line making the catch. 2 gone in Minnesota's bottom of the 4th. Carly Brandt, the senior shortstop, who bounced one back to Lauren Shaw in her first at-bat. Brandt on the weekend was 1 of 6 coming into today's game. She was 1 for 2 yesterday with a walk. She scored a run in that Game 3 yesterday. Carly Brandt did. That came as 1 of 2 in the bottom of the 4th inning when Minnesota already had 3-0. Sarah Lehman throws the first pitch to her. It's strike 1 on Carly Brandt. 5-2 the lead for Minnesota. Bottom of the 4th inning. Carly Brandt, the number 9 hitter for Minnesota, at the plate. 2 outs. Here's the pitch to her that's right down the middle called strike 2. Nice pitch by Sarah Lehman. Actually, it's 1 ball and 1 strike on Brandt, senior shortstop. From Le Sueur, Minnesota. Here is the 1-1. And that ball was up and away, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike on the senior Carly Brandt. Facing senior right-handed pitcher Sarah Lehman. Here's the pitch from Lehman, a pitch that's up and away, so it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Sarah in relief of Lauren Shaw. Started that back in the middle of the 3rd inning, actually the second batter of the 3rd inning. Bottom of the 3rd after McKenna Partain's solo home run. Here is the 3-1 that's down and in, so it's ball 4 on Carly Brandt. So a 2-out walk issued by Sarah Lehman will bring up the top of the order, and Ellie Jensen, I believe it's Allie Lindner, is now in for Ellie Jensen. Lindner replaced Jensen after Jensen scored in that first inning. So Allie Lindner's batting average, an 87 batting average, struck out in her first at-bat today. Here is the first offering from Sarah Lehman. Lindner has, she came in to play right field in all 3 games. All 3 of the first games, so she was 1 for 1 in the series. 0 for yesterday. Here is the pitch that she lifts out of the left field in the left center field. It's going to go for extra bases. Around first and headed to second is Carly Brandt. Are they going to try to score her? They are. Here comes the throw home. There's the play. No, they're going to call her safe. She touched the plate just ahead of the tag by Marissa Peak. It was a terrific relay, very, very close. It looked like she may have touched the plate. Well, I'm going to look at the replay right here. This was a line drive shot by Lindner out to left center field, and you can see Carly Brandt rounding third. Here's the throw from Grace Baines home, and on the slide, yes, just in front of the tag on the left knee. Marissa Peak couldn't get it there quicker. That 1 second makes a whole difference in that game. or in that play, and Carly Brandt scores from first base on the single by Ellie Jensen out in the left center field, and Jensen will move on to second base on the throw. And with 2 outs, Minnesota now has extended its lead to 6-2, and it brings up McKenna Partain. Partain has homered twice today. A solo home run in her last at-bat, and a 2-run home run in the bottom of the first inning. And looking at Sarah Lehman, here's a pitch that she'll lift it, fouled on the left field line, and it'll be caught by Sammy Diaz. A foul out by McKenna Partain, and that will end Minnesota in the bottom of the 4th inning. But they get one on the score by Carly Brandt, who was at first base, and scored on the long single by Allie Lindner, who went on to second base on the throw home. And it's a 6-2 game as we head into the top of the 5th inning. It'll be Brody Klosterman starting it off for the Hawks when play resumes. University of Iowa rowing team hosted Minnesota, Wisconsin, Kansas, and Drake yesterday at Lake McBride. And the Hawks did fairly well. I'm just going to read these off as we go. The number 2 novice 8 finished first in a rowing time of 7 minutes, 14.5 seconds. The 1 novice 8 finished second in their race. The 2 varsity 4 finished 4th and 5th in their races. The 1 varsity 4 finished second. The 2 varsity 8 finished third, and the 1 varsity 8 finished second in a time of 6 minutes, 31.25 seconds. So University of Iowa rowing off and moving here this weekend out at Lake McBride. That was yesterday. So we head into the top of the 5th inning. Brody Klosterman will start it off for the Hawks. She 0 for 2 on the day. Klosterman 3 for 10 in the series, was 1 for 3 yesterday in the second game of the doubleheader. She has scored a couple of runs. Here's the first pitch to her that's outside, 1 ball and no strikes. She on base when Denali Lecker stroked a 3-run home run in the top of the first inning of yesterday's second game of the doubleheader, game number 3. Iowa would end up losing that game 5-4, but they gave a great go of it. Here is the 1-0 that now becomes 1 ball and 1 strike. Autumn Pease really with a hypnotizing off-speed pitch that freezes those batters at the plate, and that thing just crawls across the plate right down the middle. See if Brody Klosterman can read it and give it a ride. Here's the 1-1. Here's the pitch that's down and away, and I guess you just never know when it's going to happen. You got to be aware of it. You don't have much time to decide between when that ball leaves the pitcher's hand to when it reaches the plate. 6-2 the lead for Minnesota. We're in the top of the 5th inning. Here is the 2-1 pitch from Autumn Pease to Brody Klosterman out to left field, and it'll drop fair right in front of the left field foul line. Chloe Evans able to get it, and Brody Klosterman is on with a single here in the top of the 5th inning. Brings up Riley Sheehy. Sheehy singled in her first at-bat and flew out to right field in her second at-bat. This is a nice hit by Brody Klosterman. It drops in fair by about a foot down the left field line. You can see Renee Gillespie with a nice hand clap honoring that hit by Brody Klosterman. That's her 4th hit of the weekend. And here's Riley Sheehy. See if she can't continue this. Here's the first pitch to her that's upstairs, so it's 1 ball. Brody Klosterman leads off the top of the 5th with a single for the Hawks. Klosterman, .256 batting average coming into the game, 20 hits and 78 at-bats. She had a .250 average coming into the series, so she's slowly working her way up the batting average. Here is the 1-0 to Riley Sheehy, and on the move is Brody Klosterman getting to second base. The throw was off the mark a little bit. Briley avoided the tag, and then she got off the base but was able to get to it quickly. She began to steal, and then she hesitated, I think that's a good play, really. I think it was intentional because once you get that catcher to have to reload, sometimes that second attempt at a throw is off the mark, and that's what it was. So we're going to issue the stolen base to Briley Klosterman on second, nobody out, and the force has been taken out of the game here. Here's a hit that's back to Den Hartog down in deep center field, and that will move Briley Klosterman onto third base on the fly out to center field, but that pushed Natalie Den Hartog well back into the wall in center field by Riley Sheehy. Klosterman tagging and going right away as soon as the hit was made. Den Hartog had to gather herself before she could make the throw in. So one gone, runner at third, and Briley Klosterman and Denali Lecker at the plate. Denali is 1 for 2 today. She got out on a fielder's choice in her first at-bat, stranded at second base, and she singled in her last at-bat and was left there. Iowa with a runner at second base, and Briley Klosterman and Denali Lecker, the freshman out of Ogden, at the plate, looking to make something happen. Hawks got 2 runs in their bottom of the fourth inning. Look to do it, same thing here. Here's one that's just dribbled back to Autumn Pease. She loses control of it, but gains it. It does score. Briley Klosterman from third. It was to the left of Pease going towards second, so Klosterman was going to score anyway. And Denali Lecker is thrown out at first base for the second out of the inning. But it makes it a 6-3 game with Marissa Peak coming to the plate. Marissa struck out in her last at-bat, 0 for 2 on the day. In the catcher spot for the Hawks today, Peak in a .239 average, 17 of 71, 5 doubles and a couple of home runs on the season. Certainly capable of hitting the long ball if she can get the right pitch. Had a double in game 1. Against Amber Pfizer, one of 2 doubles that were hit that day. It's Lindy Milkowski now at the plate for Marissa Peak. Pinch hitting here. Here's one that she'll lift out to right field, and it drives the right fielder back to the warning track, and that is Allie Lindner, and she makes the out. So the fly out to right field ends the Hawks here in the top of the 5th. They get another run and makes the game 6-3 heading into the bottom of the 5th inning. Natalie Den Hartog will start it off for Minnesota when play continues. In track and field news, at the Billy Hayes Invitational, that's next weekend, at the Illinois Big Ten Relays that were Friday and Saturday, told you more about what happens Friday with Wayne Lawrence winning both the 200 and the 400. Josh Braverman finished third in the 110 highs, and James Carter third in the long jump. On the women's side, Jenny Kimbrough second in the 100 hurdles at 13.5. Jenny Kimbrough second in the 400 hurdles, or fourth, and Tessa Roberts was fourth in the 400. In yesterday's events, Antonio Woodard fifth in the 100, and Armando Bryson fifth in the 800. Raymond Clark was fifth in the 400 hurdles, and Zach Pluff finished fourth in the high jump. On the women's side, in the 400, Tessa Roberts finished fourth. In the 800, Claire Pitcher seventh. In the 100 hurdles, Jenny Kimbrough finished second. 0.04 of a second from first place, so that's how close that race was. Usually is that way. And the 400 hurdles, Jenny Kimbrough fourth in that. And in the high jump, Delissa Huggins was second, and in the long jump, Tiana Tobias was seventh. So those are results of University of Iowa track and field. They will be at the Billy Hayes Invitational in Bloomington, Indiana next weekend. At Drake, over the weekend in the 110 high hurdles, Jamal Britt finished third and Jalen McConico finished fifth in that final event of the 110 high hurdles. University of Iowa track and field building that program They won the men won the indoor track meet this year, and they won the outdoor last year. So tremendous feat there by the University of Iowa track and field team. Sarah Lehman in the circle for the Hawks. She came in to relieve Lauren Shaw back in the bottom of the third. She remains there here in the bottom of the fifth. Looking at Natalie Den Hartog. Den Hartog is 0 for 2 on the day. Here's the 1-0 to her. She takes a good strong cut at and misses, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Den Hartog 4 for 10 in the series with a couple of doubles. Den Hartog has 7 doubles on the season, a triple, and 10 home runs. Those are 3. There were 3 home runs hit today by Minnesota. Here's one that Den Hartog will lift out to right center field, just in front of Bradley Klosterman, and Den Hartog is on with her first hit of the day, and it is her 5th of the weekend. And in the bottom of the 5th inning, Minnesota now with a runner at first, nobody out, brings up Caitlin Kemet-Mueller. So Kemet-Mueller 0 for 2 on the day, 1 for 9 in the series, or 1 for 9 coming into today's game. Was a .338 hitter coming into the series. That's all changed here. Here is the first pitch from Sarah Lehman. It's strike 1 right down the middle. Kemet-Mueller at .312. She was .338 coming in, and she's down to .312, but don't take it for granted that she can't supply a base hit. She's got Natalie Den Hartog in first base in front of her, nobody out. Here's the pitch from Sarah Lehman, a pitch that just down and in. Actually, it's called strike 2. So no balls and 2 strikes on Caitlin Kemet-Mueller, senior third baseman, the number 4 hitter in the lineup for Minnesota. Got runner at first base and Natalie Den Hartog. Chloe Evans is in the on-deck circle. Here is the 0-1, a pitch that Kemet-Mueller waits on. She does a nice job to wait on that off-speed pitch and takes a solid cut at it, but fouls it into the backstop. So we've got 1 ball and 2 strikes now on Kemet-Mueller. 6-3 Minnesota. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Nobody out. Den Hartog at first. Here is the 1-2 that Kemet-Mueller again will foul. She battled in her last at-bat, fouling off many pitches before she would bounce one back to Sarah Lehman in the circle. Here's the 0-2 to Caitlin Kemet-Mueller, a pitch that she lifts out into left field. It drives Riley Sheehy back off the top of the wall and stays in play. And a quick throw to third base to try to get the lead runner, Natalie Den Hartog. In doing that, that allowed Kemet-Mueller to go to second base on the single. Probably should have gone to second base to keep her from scoring. She got all of this one. It was down and in on her. Otherwise, if it's over the plate, she crushes this one, and that would bounce off of the Football Performance Center out just beyond left field. And now with nobody out, runners at second and third for Minnesota, Chloe Evans comes to the plate. Chloe hit a home run in her last at-bat, a solo home run. That in the same inning that McKenna Partain hit a solo home run, and it moved that 3-0 Minnesota lead to 5-0. Iowa then would come back and score 2 in the bottom of the 4th to make it 5-2. Or top of the 4th, and then Minnesota made it 6-2. Iowa's made it 6-3, and that's where we are now in the bottom of the 5th inning. Chloe Evans at the plate. Looking at Sarah Evans, the first pitch, I think they're going to intentionally walk her. Looks as if they're going to intentionally walk Evans to get to Sarah Kinch. That will load up the bases. It will put force plays into action. Ball 1 here now as Marissa Peak behind the plate. Now will take the second pitch. And it's ball 2, so they're going to intentionally walk Chloe Evans. Evans, 2 for 8 coming into the game today. Both of those hits were in game number 1, a home run and a double. So she with 2 home runs on the weekend. 3 balls and no strikes, and here's the 4th pitch, intentionally walking Chloe Evans, and so she'll trot down to first base. And for Sarah, that is the second walk of her appearance here with the Hawks. Bases are loaded, nobody out, and it becomes Sarah Kinch time. Kinch popped up to Denali Lecker in her last at-bat, singled in her first at-bat. And here's a big chance for her. Now, I believe defense is going to be getting together in that circle to be sure they know what they're going to do with it. They're going to have to make a play at the plate if they can. Get that lead runner if at all possible. Certainly don't want to give another run away to Minnesota. They're already up by 3. It's tough to come back against a team as good as Minnesota is when they've got a 3-run lead on us. So head coach Renee Gillespie out there talking to the defense in the circle. Sarah's got to keep some pitches down and away from Sarah Kinch, a freshman, but she is the reigning Big Ten Player of the Week. Kinch has 3 for 8 on the weekend. She was 2 for 3 in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday that Minnesota would win. She had an RBI single that scored Natalie Den Hartog, and then she had a single in the top of the 5th that she was left stranded on. So very capable of putting the ball in play, and certainly with her reigning Big Ten Player of the Week, freshman Big Ten Player of the Week honors, 6 for 10 in the Nebraska series, 3 home runs in that series. Very capable of hitting the ball. Here's the first pitch from Sarah Lehman to her, and it's a pitch that is called strike 1. Sarah went right at her with a hard fastball, and she throws it right by Kinch. Bases loaded, 6-3. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Nobody out. Sarah Kinch, the freshman catcher, the number 6 hitter in the lineup. Here is the 0-1 that's just off the plate, so it's ball 1. 1 ball and 1 strike to the freshman catcher, Sarah Kinch. She's a freshman from Temecula, California. Here is the 1-1 from Sarah Lehman, a pitch that Kinch will take a hard cut at, and she'll foul it back. So she's down on the count at a ball and a strike, ball and 2 strikes, that is. After Kinch, it becomes Emily Hansen time. Again, bases are loaded for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Nobody out. Leading this game 6-3 with the freshman catcher, Sarah Kinch, at the plate. Here is the 1-2 that's lifted out into the outfield in between Nia Carter and Briley Klosterman. Klosterman making a diving effort, can't come up with it. And Minnesota's going to score 3 runs on the double hit by Sarah Kinch. Briley Klosterman with a valiant effort diving on the warning track. This was a pitch that was down and away, and it was in between Nia Carter and Roddy Klosterman, and Klosterman not able to get to it. So Den Hartog scores from 3rd, Kemet Mueller from 2nd, and all the way from 1st is Chloe Evans on the double by Sarah Kinch, and they lead this game 9-3 with nobody out in the bottom of the 5th inning. Sarah Kinch is at second base. And Allison Ducey now is going to come into the circle for the Hawks. And she'll face Emily Hansen with a nobody out and a runner at second base. Allie Ducey pitched yesterday to begin the second game of the doubleheader, went 2 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned. She walked a batter and struck out 2 for Allison. 6-4 on the season. This will be her 15th appearance. 67 2/3 innings pitched. She's given up 65 hits, 27 runs, 23 of them earned, and a 2.38 ERA. Sydney Strelo now will be running at second base for Sarah Kinch.
What a difference from all 3 games, really, for this Gopher offense, being able to take out.
In the bottom of the 5th inning, with nobody out, Sydney Strelo running for Sarah Kinch at second base, and the 0-1 pitch to Emily Hansen now becomes no balls and 2 strikes. Sarah Lehman took the loss yesterday. She came in and relieved Ducey, went the next 4 innings. Ducey pitched back in game. Actually, that was her only innings that she has pitched this weekend. Here is the 0-2, an off-speed pitch that is not chased by Emily Hansen for Ducey. Other than the 2 innings she pitched yesterday, she pitched 2 innings in a game against Northwestern last weekend. Here is the 1-2, one that is lifted out to short right field, and Amber DeSena doing a nice job of getting back and making the grab. So that's 1 out in Minnesota's bottom of the 5th inning. Going to bring up Megan Dre. Allison Ducey started in the second game of the doubleheader against Northwestern, going 2 innings, giving up a hit and a run, it being an earned run, and then she was relieved in that game. She also did 4 2/3 innings in the first game of that doubleheader. Actually, that was the second game of the doubleheader, and then the game on Sunday was the 2 innings pitched game for Allison Ducey. Trying to regain a little rhythm here for the Hawks. They're down 9-3. Here's a rip down the third base line, and it's foul. Megan Dre gets all of that one, but hits it foul. That'll send Sydney Strelo back to second base. Strelo running for Sarah Kinch. Kinch with a 3-run double to keep this inning going and make it a 9-3 lead for Minnesota. They are a hitting ball club. Here is the pitch that's lifted foul down the third base line, and it's caught by Sammy Diaz, out number 2. So it's Carly Brandt coming to the plate. Minnesota, the 8th best hitting team in the league, at .243 coming into the game. Lead the league in home runs. That was 32. That is now up to 36 with 3 home runs hit today, 2 of them by McKenna Partain. Chloe Evans with 1. Chloe Evans hit 1 on Friday. And it's Carly Brandt at the plate. She walked and scored in her last at-bat. Has a teammate at second base in Sydney Strelo. Here's the 0-1 that's up and in on her. Allison Ducey, the senior from Ankeny, in the circle for the Hawks. In the bottom of the 5th inning, she in relief of Sarah Lehman, who had relieved Lauren Shaw back in the 3rd. Here's the 1-1 from Allison Ducey. It's a pitch that's an off-speed pitch that's lifted foul by Carly Brandt. So down to the count of the ball and 2 strikes. There are 2 outs within the 3 runs that were scored here in this inning by Minnesota. And they all 3 came from the double by Sarah Kinch, the freshman. Here's the 1-2 from Allison Ducey. And it's a swing and a miss, and that is a strikeout, and that will end Minnesota here in the bottom of the 5th. But they get 3 more, and they make it a 9-3 lead over the Iowa Hawkeyes. When play continues, Kalena Burns will be at the plate. In the top of the 6th inning. See if that can't count for some runs. Well, Iowa ended the 13-game losing streak to Minnesota in game number 1 yesterday of the doubleheader. Iowa hadn't beaten Minnesota since the 2015 season. So they're glad to get that done, but they couldn't get it done in the second game, although they made it a close game in a 5-4 loss, scoring 1 in the top of the 7th when they were down 5-3. But Iowa was ahead 3-1 after 1 inning of play. Minnesota just kept pecking away at it, putting together consecutive hits. They scored 2 in the bottom of the 3rd, 2 in the bottom of the 4th, ended up winning that game 5-4. Here today, a 2-run home run by McKenna Partain in the first inning, a single run in the second inning made it 3-0. Partain would hit a solo home run in the bottom of the third, followed by Chloe Evans' solo home run to make it 5-0. Iowa would score in the top of the fourth. They would score twice on a single and a home run by Grace Baines. Here's Kalena Burns at the plate for the Hawks. And then Minnesota now with 3 in the bottom of the fifth inning on a 3-run double hit by Sam Kinch. Hawks got, again, a mountain to climb, down 6. See if they can't piece together some hits, string together some hits and runs. Here is the 1-0 to Kalena Burns from Autumn Pease. And a pitch that's off the plate, so it's 2 balls and no strikes to Kalena Burns. She singled and scored. In her last at-bat, she has 2 singles today. Her run scored was in front of the home run hit by Grace Baines. Here is the 1-0 to Kalena Burns. And a pitch that is called strike 1 on the outside corner. Burns, a sophomore from Corona, California. A year ago, in the pandemic-shortened season, a 403 hitter, 29 hits, and 72 at-bats. 2-1 the count on her. Here's one that she takes a good cut at and will foul it into the backstop. She was on a 9-game hitting streak at the end of 2020. When the pandemic hit, she extended that to 11 in the first 2 games of this season in the opening series against Ohio State in Leesburg, Florida. And then it's just kind of been sporadic from there. She's had a 5-game hitless streak and a 4-game hitless streak. Here's one that she'll bounce over to Kemet Mueller at third base. Boy, what a play by Kemet Mueller. She dives for it into foul territory, and they're going to call it a foul ball. She hops up, throws it across the diamond, can't get it to Dre at first base in time, but again, it's a foul ball. So back to the right-handed batter's box goes Kalena Burns. I believe they're going to call it a foul ball. Burns back at the plate. Her feet were in foul territory when she went to field that ball. Interesting. Her feet were in fair play when she went to field that ball, and they ended up calling it a foul ball. So Kalena Burns back at the right-handed batter's box, 9-3, top of the 6th inning. Minnesota with the lead, 2-2 count on the sophomore Kalena Burns being the designated player today. Here is the pitch from Autumn Pease, and it's a pitch down the middle. She'll hit to Carly Brandt, just to the left of Brandt and out into center field. And, folks, Kalena Burns has her 3rd hit of the day. Burns coming into today's game was 0 for 2, and she has a pinch hit walk. She's 3 for 3 today. And she at first base, much like they did back in the top of the 4th inning. It'll be Grace Baines at the plate. Baines hit a 2-run home run over the left center field wall in her last at-bat. And Avery Guy now will come in and run for Kalena Burns in the top of the 6th inning. Avery Guy from Cedar Rapids. Has done more pinch running than anything. She has started a couple games at third base in the Wisconsin series she did. And here is the first pitch that to Grace Baines. That's a ground ball. That is a ground out for Grace Baines. That'll move Kalena Burns or Avery Guy onto second base. So it was Baines that hit into apparently a double play. So 2 gone in the top of the 6th, and it brings up Nia Carter. That's the 10th double play for Minnesota this season. And Nia Carter, who singled in her last at-bat, is at the plate. She's really been working hard to get consecutive hits. Here is the 0-1. That's a ball a little bit high. Again, that was that off-speed breaking pitch thrown by Pease, and it just freezes the batters at the plate because you see it coming in high, and it is slow, and you think it's going to be a ball, and the next thing you know, it crosses the plate in the strike zone. 9-3 the lead for Minnesota, top of the 6th inning. A double play just performed by Minnesota, and it's 2 outs for the Hawks. Here is the 1-1. Becomes 2 balls and 1 strike on Nia Carter, sophomore from Rancho Cucamonga, California. Come on. Here is the 2-1 from Autumn Pease to Nia Carter, and she hits one right in front of the Hawkeye dugout, a line drive just in front of Amber DeSena and behind head coach Renee Gillespie. So the 2-2 count on Nia Carter. Nia had a 6-game hitting streak earlier this season, back on the 14th of March through the 2nd of April, the last of the Maryland series into the first of the Indiana series with the Purdue series in between. And Nia now will ground out, and that will end the Hawkeyes here in the top of the 6th inning. They get a leadoff single by Kalena Burns, turns into a double play on the ground ball by Grace Baines, and Nia Carter grounds out. And the Hawks are down to a last at-bat. That'll come up after Minnesota's bottom of the 6th inning at-bat. They'll bring the top of the order to the plate. Allie Lindner will get it started for Minnesota when play continues. It's Minnesota 9, Iowa 3. After this weekend, the Hawks will head to Piscataway, New Jersey next week. The Friday game, next Friday's game on the 30th of April, is a 2 o'clock start. No radio games are anticipated for the weekend, so everything will be right here on Hawkeye Sports, Hawkeye Radio Network, YouTube. And that'll be a 2 o'clock start time next Friday at Rutgers. Saturday's games are noon and 3, and then the Sunday game will be at noon. That's at Rutgers next weekend. Those certainly are 4 winnable games for this Iowa Hawkeye softball team. They need to go out there and get that done. Head into the bottom of the 6th inning, 9-3 the lead for Minnesota, and Allie Lindner at the plate for the Gophers, facing Allison Ducey. And here's the first pitch to her. That is ball 1. Lindner with a single in her last at-bat. Filling in for Ellie Jensen, replacing Ellie Jensen. Here's the 1-0 from Allison Ducey. It's outside, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. Allie Lindner out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a junior. Lindner on the batting average, just an 87 batting average. This is just her 21st appearance on the season. Has started a couple of games, and as you looked at strike 1, 2 balls and 1 strike on the junior Allie Lindner. Facing the senior Allison Ducey. Here's the 2-1 from Allison, and it's an off-speed pitch that's upstairs, so it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Ducey came in the bottom of the 5th inning after the 3-run double hit by Sarah Kinch. Knocked out Sarah Lehman. Here is the 3-1, a pitch that hits that outside corner, so it's strike 2. 3 balls and 2 strikes on the junior right fielder, Allie Lindner, replacing Ellie Jensen. She's done that in the first 3 games, and so apparently that is the sequence for Minnesota. Here is the 3-2 that's down and away, and it's ball 4. So Allison Ducey issues the first walk of her appearance today. And for Deuce, that is the 19th base on balls that she has allowed. Puts a runner at first, and it brings up McKenna Partain. Partain, the left-handed hitter. 2 for 3 in the day, couple of home runs, one a 2-run and the other a solo. She popped up to Sammy Diaz in her last at-bat. And with a 9-3 lead, it's Partain at the plate. Here's a pitch that is called strike one, so no balls and one strike on McKenna Partain. Big Ten Player of the Week after the weekend of March 11th through the 14th when they played Rutgers and Michigan State. Here's the 0-1 to her. That's away, 1 ball and 1 strike. On that weekend, she had 8 hits, scored 8 runs, and had 3 runs batted in as she led. She was in the leadoff role. Those among those 8 hits were 2 triples and 2 doubles. But she's hit some home runs here today, and it's a 2-1 pitch now as the ball's outside. 5 home runs on the season for her. 2 for 3 in the day. She came into today's game at 4 of 9, so she's 6 out of 12, batting .500 on the weekend. Here is the 2-1 pitch that's down and in, so it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Trying to pitch around her, see if she'll take a swing at a bad pitch, and she does not do that. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Minnesota leading Iowa 9-3. Nobody out in Minnesota's at bat. The number 2 hitter, McKenna Partain, at the plate. Here's the 3-1 from Allison Ducey, a pitch that she'll ground right to Denali Lecker. She had it in her glove, dropped it far enough away that she had to take a couple of steps to pick it up, and by that time, McKenna Partain will race through first base and get there. We'll see how they score it. Denali Lecker had it. It was a high hopper. She closed her glove too soon. She took her eye off it, and they're going to issue an error to Denali Lecker. Unfortunate as it is, she made a nice play on it, and as she was backing away to go to first base to touch it, she took her eye off the ball before she completely had it in her glove, and it bounced away from her, and that allowed Partain to get to first base, and it pushes Allie Lindner on to second. And now with nobody out, it brings up Natalie Den Hartog. Den Hartog leading the team in home runs. 4 for 10 in the series coming into the game. She's 1 for 3 today, singled and scored in her last at-bat. She scored on the double, 3-run double hit by Sarah Kinch. So with runners at first and second, Natalie Den Hartog, the junior out of Hopkins, Minnesota, at the plate. Here's the first pitch to her that's up and in, so it's ball 1. Allison Ducey in the circle for the Hawks, a senior out of Ankeny. And a 1-0 count on Natalie Den Hartog, the number 3 hitter in the lineup. Here is the 1-0 that she fouls off of Marissa Peak. Actually, Lindy Milkowski, I guess when she came in and pinch hit for Peak, is in at catcher now for Marissa Peak. So 1 ball and 1 strike on the junior center fielder, Natalie Den Hartog. McKenna Partain at first after getting on an error by Denali Lecker. Allie Lindner on second base, and here's a hard swing and a miss by Den Hartog, now down in the count at a ball and 2 strikes. Minnesota, after this weekend, will head to Madison to square off against the Wisconsin Badgers. Then they will host Michigan in 2 weeks, so that probably will come down to the Big Ten championship determining. Here's the 1-2 again to Natalie Den Hartog. Runners at first and second, nobody out. Here's the pitch to her that's up and in, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Allison Ducey going with a high, hard one. So it's 2-2 to the junior center fielder, Natalie Den Hartog, junior, facing Allison Ducey. Here is the 2-2. Den Hartog will lift it up into the infield. It'll just be in the foul territory, but coming down from third base is Sammy Diaz to make the catch. That's a big out, folks. That's the first out of the inning, but it takes a big bat out of the lineup. Den Hartog, not that Kemet Mueller is any easier. They'll have to be careful with her. She singled and scored in her last at-bat. She was part of that 3-run double that was hit by Sarah Kinch. Runners remain at first and second, one out, and it's Caitlin Kemetmuller, the senior third baseman. Here's the first offering from Allison Ducey, and it's called strike one on the inside corner. Allison doing a nice job of painting that corner, getting the call from the home plate umpire. 9-3, the lead for the Golden Gophers. Here is the 0-1 that's lifted to just beyond the reach of Grace Baines at shortstop. It hit right off the end of the bat. It was to the right of Grace Baines. She had to run 3 strides to get it, dives for it, just can't get enough of it. Can't get the glove on it, and a base hit now for Caitlin Kemetmuller, her second of the game. Bases are loaded with one out, and it brings up Chloe Evans. Evans hit a solo home run in her last at-bat, or not in her last at-bat, her second at-bat, and she walked and was she was intentionally walked, and she scored ahead of the 3-run double by Sarah Kinch. And the first pitch from Allison Ducey is up and away from her. 9-3 the lead. Bases loaded, one out. Minnesota's bottom of the 6th inning. Allison Ducey in the circle. Diaz is even with the base at third, as is Denali Lecker at first. Here's the 1-0 to Chloe Evans, and it is called strike one on the outside corner. Evans with a couple of home runs this weekend. She hit one Friday, the 2-run home run. They got Minnesota their 2-0 lead, and she hit the second home run two at-bats ago, 3 at-bats ago. In the bottom of the third, a solo home run after Partaine's solo home run. Here is the 1-1 that becomes 2 balls and 1 strike on Chloe Evans, freshman left fielder. Here's the 2-1 from Allison Ducey. Pitch that swung on and missed. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bases full of Gophers. Caitlin Kemetmuller singling is on first base. McKenna Partain reached on first and now at second base. And at third base is Allie Lindner. 1 out and a 9-3 Minnesota lead. Here is the 2-2 to Chloe Evans. She takes a swing and misses. And that is the second strikeout for Allison Ducey in her appearance. That's out number 2, and it brings up Sarah Kinch. This is the same situation she was in the last time she came to the plate. Runners at each of the bases, and Kinch would deliver a double out to left center field. That was the last of Sarah Lehman's appearance. And here's Allison Ducey. Here is the first pitch from Deuce to Sarah Lynch. It's called strike one on the inside corner. Well, the Hawks will get at least one more at bat. They're going to have to hit it hard, send a lot of batters, a lot of people to the plate, and score a bunch of runs, at least 6 for sure. Hopefully no more added here by Minnesota. Here is the 0-1 to Kinch, and she pops it up into the infield. And Sammy Diaz calling for it and taking the catch. And that will end Minnesota here in the bottom of the 6th. They leave 3 runners on base, but take a 9-3 lead into the top of the 7th inning. It'll be Amber DeSena, Sammy Diaz, and Bridie Klosterman when play resumes. We're headed into the top of the 7th, game number 4 of Minnesota and the University of Iowa. So we move into the top of the 7th inning. Iowa has put together a couple of good innings. They scored 2 in the top of the 4th and 1 in the top of the 5th, but Minnesota would always come back and answer. They scored 1 in the bottom of the 4th to make it a 6-2 game. Iowa would score 1 in the top of the 5th, and Minnesota would come back with 3 in the bottom of the 5th inning on the 3-run double by Sarah Kinch. Hawks are inching closer, folks. They got a nice squad. Head coach Renee Gillespie starting 7 freshmen in most of this weekend. Can't expect to win with freshmen, but these are some talented freshmen that are going to be good. This offseason is very important for the Hawks, for their development as an athlete, as a softball player, as a University of Iowa softball player. I think the future looks good for the Hawks and some good recruits coming in. So it's Amber DeSena looking at Ava Dewick coming in. Ava Dewick came in and pitched yesterday.
Ava Dewick coming in relief for Autumn Pease.
And the Hawks did tee off on her a little bit. Give you her numbers here shortly. Dewick in yesterday's first game of the doubleheader in which Iowa won, she came in and pitched 2 1/3 innings against the Hawks. And in that third inning, after the third inning, Iowa got 4 hits, scored a couple of runs on her. Those both came in the top of the 7th inning. They were earned. She walked 1 and struck out 1. Ava Dewick is a sophomore from Maple Grove, Minnesota. Had only pitched 11 2/3 innings prior to that, so she now up to 14 innings pitched coming into this appearance, giving up 16 hits, 7 runs, 5 of them earned. Here is the 1-2 that's called strike 3 on Amber DeSena. Looked at that pitch, and she strikes out. So Sammy Diaz will come to the plate for the Hawks with 1 out in the top of the 7th inning. Needing to get on base. Need base runners to get runs across the plate. And it's Sammy Diaz. Diaz coming into the game, a .208 hitter. Her batting average has steadily risen. She was 186 coming into the series. She's now up to .208. And in the series, 2 for 6. Today, she's 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out. Here is the 1-0 to her that she'll take a good solid cut at. Diaz had a double in the first game against Amber Pfizer, one of 2 doubles that were hit by the Hawks on Friday in that 3-0 loss. In yesterday's second game of the doubleheader, she was 0 for 1, but then she left the game. And in the first game of the doubleheader, she was 1 for 2. Here is the 1-1 to her that's off the plate. And it's ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike.
The Maple Grove, Minnesota native transfer from Augustana.
Ashley Hamilton replaced her yesterday after the first at-bat. She took one off the wrist. Here's one that she'll bounce right to Kemet Miller at third. She plays it nicely. Gosh, she charged in on it. It was a very high hopper that she had to reach up and grab, and she just immediately throws it over to first base. And it drew Sid Strelo off of the base at first, and so that'll be Sammy Diaz on first. My guess is they will give it an error. Kemet Miller does a nice job to play this. And the umpire said that that Strelo was off the base, and so Sammy Diaz is going to be on first. My guess is going to be an error. We'll get that official word for you here shortly, but it brings up Brodie Klosterman. Sammy Diaz on, and Klosterman 1 for 3, singled and scored in her last at-bat. Stole second base. Here is the first pitch from Ava Dewick. It gets away from the catcher, and that will move Sammy Diaz down to second base and out of a force situation. And then, so the error is going to be issued to the third baseman, Caitlin Kemet-Mueller, for a high throw, pulling the player off of first base. And now a timeout being taken by Minnesota as head coach Piper Ritter has come out to talk to Ava Dewick in the circle. Piper Ritter, no stranger to the pitching circle. She spent 13 years as the pitching coach and assistant coach for Minnesota. She also spent 3 years as a pitcher for the University of Minnesota from 2001 to 2004. And she had many of the individual pitching records at Minnesota for quite a few years until recently. Most of them, if not all, have been broken. She now the head coach as Jamie Traxel headed to Ole Miss after 3 years. Here is the 1-0 to Briley Klosterman. Now it's 2 balls and no strikes. See if the Hawks can't get a little rally going here. They need 6 to tie to force Minnesota to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. 9-3 the lead. We're in the top of the 7th. Ava Dewick in the circle for Autumn Pease. Here's one that Briley Klosterman will foul off of her leg. So it's a foul ball. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Dewick came in to relieve Autumn Pease in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. And again, the Hawks were able to get 2 runs off of her. Those in the top of the 7th inning that gave the Hawks the 3-1 lead and ultimate victory. Here is the 2-1 that is up and in on Briley Klosterman. So 3 balls and 1 strike on the freshman out of North Liberty. She scored in her last at bat. She scored a run in yesterday's first game of the doubleheader, scored in both games yesterday. So she's producing very well in the leadoff spot. Here's one she'll lift fouled on the third base line. And the count remains the same at 3 balls and 2 strikes. As she's had a couple of short game hitting streaks, 2 early in the season, 3 at the Purdue series, 2 in the Indiana series, and 2 in the Northwestern series. Here is the 3-2 tour that she'll foul right at home plate. Grounded out to second base in her first at bat today, flew out to left field and singled and scored. In her last at bat back in the 5th inning. The 3rd Iowa run of the game. Down 9-3, 1 out here in Iowa's top of the 7th inning. Sammy Diaz at second base. 3-2 count. Here's the pitch. And again, a foul off of the instep of Briley Klosterman. And so she remains alive in this at bat. So the situation remains the same. Ava Dewick in the circle for Autumn Pease here in the top of the 7th inning. Facing Briley Klosterman, the leadoff hitter for the Hawks. 1 out, Diaz at third. Here's a pitch that she'll line off of the first baseman, and it'll roll away from her. And that's going to allow Sammy Diaz, I think, to score. So it hits off of the first baseman's foot. It allowed Diaz to score from second base as the ball rolled out into right field, and now it's a 9-4 game. Nice line drive hit by Klosterman. Actually went off the glove trying to feel it on a backhand. That was a hard shot hit by Briley Klosterman. And so that'll bring Riley Sheehy to the plate for the Hawks. Here's the first pitch to her that she'll ground over to Carly Brandt to Partain, and they just get the lead runner in Klosterman. So on by a fielder's choice. And we're going to maybe try for a second double play or third double play of the day, but Partain elects just to get the lead runner. And that puts Riley Sheehy at first base with 2 outs on the fielder's choice. And so for Denali Lecker, she comes in 1 for 3 on the day, but has had quite a series. Lecker 3 for 9 coming into today's game with a home run and a double. 5 runs batted in. And again, she's 1 for 3 today. Up in the count at 1 ball and no strike, facing Ava Dewick. Here's a pitch that's down and in on Denali Lecker. So she's ahead in the count at 2 balls and no strikes. A good hitting pitch right here. Iowa scored a run. They're down 9-4 with 2 outs. Riley Sheehy at first base. Here is the 2-0. And Denali will bounce it right to Kemet Mueller. Picks it up on the hop and across the diamond. And that'll do it, folks. The Minnesota Gophers upend the Iowa Hawkeyes here in game number 4 by the score of 9-4 and take 3 games of the 4-game series from the Hawkeyes. And that'll move Minnesota to 25-7 overall, keeping them in second place. Iowa now goes to an even 16-16 and awaits what happens to Nebraska and Ohio State, whether they're going to be in 5th, 6th, or 7th place. Even Indiana plays a role in this. And the Hawks will be headed to Piscataway, New Jersey next weekend for a matchup with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights in a 4-game series. Those are 4 winnable games for the Hawks, and that's how they need to approach that weekend in Piscataway next weekend, is to win 4 of those games, because when they come home in 2 weeks, they have Nebraska followed by Illinois. 3 wins for Minnesota, 1 win for the Hawks in this 4-game series. I'm Jerry Koala. Hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. We'll talk to you again next Friday as the Hawkeyes will be at Rutgers. That game on Friday is a 2 o'clock start time. I'll be talking to you a little bit before the hour of 2 o'clock next Friday. Have a great weekend and a great week, folks. We'll talk to you again next Friday from Rutgers, and the Hawks heading out to Piscataway, New Jersey to face the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.